I've never, okay, no, I'm not gonna lie. I've never gotten a speeding ticket, never. And I did get a parking fine once, but I had paid the fine, so I disputed it. And so I'm just gonna negate that. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby if you're new here. And today I want to talk about, should you get a car or not? So this video is targeted at new immigrants to Canada or any country. So I think these are some factors you need to consider if you're moving to a new country and you're wondering, do I possibly need a new car? Do I need a car immediately I get to Canada, or do I need a car immediately I get to America? So I hope some of these points I would make in this video would be enough to sort of encourage or dissuade you should you decide to actually get a car. First and foremost, I would just give you, if this is your first time here, I'll just give you some background. I live in Edmonton, Alberta, which is known for wicked winters. So our winters are long and drawn out. They are so cold, so terrible, like horrendous to be honest. Winter could start from November and go all to like March, sometimes even April. We'll still be getting like, you know, a cold snap. But let's talk about, should you get a car? I've been in Canada for about 5 years now, and I have never bought a car. I don't have a car. I don't need one, and I'll tell you a few reasons why I do not need one. Your case might be different because it really depends on where you're moving to and the kind of infrastructure, meaning public transit, that is available when you move to where you're moving to. So first and foremost though, the reason I don't have a car is because I have designed my life and structured it in such a way that I don't need one. So I live right downtown Edmonton. I also happen to work about 5-10 minutes walking distance from my house. So I don't need a car to commute to work. I don't also need to take the public transit to commute to work because I live right downtown. My office is downtown. My church is about 15 minutes away, but that's on Sunday, so I'll usually take the bus if I'm early. But if I'm late, which I'm almost always late, or running shorter time, I will take a cab or an Uber. But generally, I'll use public transit if I'm going to church or if I'm even going to grocery shop. So let's talk about, should you get a car? First and foremost, when you move to a new country, you have two options for getting a car. And these are, you're either buying one cash outright or you're leasing or financing a car. So a lot of people, like 80% of Western countries, would finance because that way you don't have to put a ton of money up front. But the downside with financing is that you're paying interest because obviously someone's got to service the loan, the car loan that you've taken. Having a car comes with so much cost associated. It costs you, just not even buying the car, but owning the car could cost you anywhere from $7,000 to about $12,000 a year to maintain and keep that car on the road without the cost of buying the car. So I'm just going to go into a few categories of expenses that you're going to encounter where if you decided to buy a car in Canada. So the first one is obviously the cost of getting a car. There are different ways you could get a car when you come here. You could either finance it or you could buy it outright. Buying it outright just means you're paying cash for the full value of the car. But sometimes if you have cash in hand, you might get a discount on the purchase of the car. But the other option is to lease or to finance the vehicle. And what this means is that you're sort of using a car loan. You're getting a loan from the bank saying, oh, I want to buy this car that's $20,000, but I only have $4,000 or $5,000. So please let me owe the bank the additional $16,000. But just know that when you're financing, you're going to have to be paying interest. And this interest could range from 0% to about 4-5%, depends on a different number of factors, including your income sources, your credit history, your age. So many factors could impact the kind of interest rates you get when you're buying a new car. And bear in mind, like, I do love new car. I love the sound of tearing rubber and also the smell of a new car. But remember that the minute you drive your car out of the lot, your car is depreciated by 48 to 50% the minute you get behind the wheel and drive it off the lot. So that's something you should consider when you're buying a brand new car. The fact that, you know, you're paying this amount of money for a car, but the minute you you drive it out, it doesn't really hold the same value you paid for it. So if my advice is for you is to buy a fairly used car. So you could buy a car that is older, like an older year or an older model. But if money is not an issue for you and you really want to get a new car, by all means get ahead. So let's talk about interest rates. As I mentioned, interest rates would add at least about 6 to 10,000 on top of the value of your car. It depends on the kind of car you want. All of these depends on so many factors: your credit history, your age, your job, your income source, your neighborhood. So many things. So these would impact what interest rates you get when you're getting a car. So let's talk about the costs associated with getting a car and reasons why I chose not to get a car. So first and foremost, I don't need a car. Number two, it was such a big investment, right, to bring out, especially since I'm coming from a society where we pay things by cash. We usually, I'm Nigerian, we usually don't go into like credit debt or take a loan for a car. You pay cash or you walk. So for me, when I first got to Canada, I didn't really want to owe anybody more than I could afford. So I chose not to get a car because that would cost me either 10,000 cash upfront, or I would have to start owing someone and paying interest rates. And if you calculate the interest rate over like a term, say 4 years or 5 years, you sometimes will see that it will range up to like 6,000 to like 8,000. You're paying 6 to 8,000 additional on top of the price of the car. It makes sense to a lot of people. It doesn't make sense to me. So I chose not to invest that in a vehicle or in transportation. So I think the first major expense category is actually buying the car, bringing out the money and paying for the car itself. The second expense category when you talk about owning a car, which made me decide, no, I wouldn't, is insurance. So if you're moving here, you would notice that insurance rates are very different for different countries, especially Western versus developing countries. The insurance rates are very different. Back home, one of the things that the base insurance, which is third-party liability, for example, I'm going to use Nigeria as an example because that's where I'm from and that's where I have the most background knowledge. Insurance rates for a third-party liability is 5,000 naira. At least it used to be 5,000 naira when I left, and 5,000 naira equivalent in Canadian will probably be about 20 to 30 Canadian dollars for a third-party liability, right? Which is the base insurance rate. Now move that to Canada. In Canada or in the States, third-party liability, which is the base coverage, this doesn't cover comprehensive. It doesn't cover, damage to your own vehicle or to yourself. This is for just the person that you happen to hit or the government property you happen to hit. A basic liability coverage in North America is influenced by so many factors. For example, your age, your credit history, your driving record, the neighborhood you live, the year of the car. If it's a new car, you're going to be paying more. If it's a used car, slightly reduced, the make, model. Sometimes they would even ask you for your driving habits. So if you happen to drive at night past 12, your rates would increase. And also the mileage you drive every year. So many factors impact how much your insurance would be. But for the base coverage, you end up seeing that you pay like from $150 a month base coverage to like $450 or $500. For example, Alberta is pretty decent when it comes to like insurance rates. Toronto or Ontario, the rates are off the roof. Like if you see insurance rates that it's like $200, be happy. That would be like the cheapest of the cheapest. Insurance rates are very ridiculous in Ontario, but in Alberta though, it could range on these factors I mentioned. So obviously insurance too, it's a very big cost when you own a car. So the second expense category when you have a car is obviously fuel or gas. That's if you don't have a Tesla, which uses a charge. But if you're buying a regular car or a hybrid car, you're going to have to buy fuel or gas at some point. And based on the Canada National Resources website on gas prices and fuel consumption, spending money on fuel or gas would run you to about $150 every month, and in a year you'll find that you've spent about $2,000 on gas. That is money that's leaving your pocket because you own a car. The third expense category is maintenance. So obviously you're going to have to change your oil, you have to change your oil filter, you have to go for alignment. Honestly, if you bought a new car, all of these maintenance issues will be covered under warranty. But if you have a used car, obviously you're going to have to pay some of these out of pocket. So you have to budget at least $1,000 a year for maintenance on your car. I've read that a tip is that if you're spending more than $1,000 a year on maintenance on your car, then it's time for you to buy another car, because that's money that you could have been using for something else. So make sure you're not spending too much, but definitely $1,000 a year for your car maintenance is still a lot. So when you own a car, the fourth expense categories you will encounter is parking. When you go out to watch a game, when you go out to watch that orchestra, when you go out shopping, you're going to have to look for where to park. The good news is that a lot of places would have free parking. A lot of places like grocery stores, department stores will have parking for sure. But if you're going to somewhere else, if you're commuting to work, especially if you work downtown or in a very high urban area, you're going to be paying a lot of parking fees. If your company that you work for doesn't give you free parking, you would be paying out-of-pocket parking. And for example, downtown Edmonton, there are parking spots that are like $800 a month. That's like extreme though, but you can get anywhere from like $100 a month to about $800. So if I had a car and where I lived, I would pay an additional $60 for parking. So that's also something you need to have in mind, the fact that when you own a car, you have to start thinking about things like, oh, is parking included in my rent, or would I be paying extra? Can I find somewhere to park downtown, or am I going to have to find a monthly pass to park? And all of that can add at least $1,000 to $2,000 on top of your expenses of owning a car. Ridiculous, isn't it? It's just crazy. Okay, the next expense category, I think is the fifth one, is registration. So wherever you live, you're going to have to register your car and get license plates, okay? And for Alberta, it's pretty standard. Our registration a year, it's prorated, but a year is $93. So some places can get higher. I think Ontario is about $120. I'm not too sure. So you would have to pay registration fees, license and registration fees, based on your province or based on your city. So that's also a cost you need to factor in. Number 6 category, I think this is one of my final categories, is speeding tickets. So a lot of people don't budget for tickets and fines when they get a car. Bear in mind that I'm not gonna lie, I've never gotten a speeding ticket, never. And I did get a parking fine once, but I had paid the fine, so I disputed it. And so I'm just going to negate that. So I've never gotten a fine or a ticket, but 8 out of 10 people that I know that have cars have spent at least $300 a year on speeding tickets or parking fines. Obviously, if you park somewhere you're not allowed to park, you're going to get a fine that ranges. It could be like $75, it could be $50, depends on the zone you're parking. But a lot of places will give you free parking in the evening after 6 o'clock, or free parking weekends. So make sure you're reducing the fines you're getting based on parking. And also, if you're speeding, trust me, it's not, don't let the cops hear this, but if you're speeding 10 above the speed limit, you will be getting a ticket if you get caught. But I think they are more lenient. I'm not sure. I think they are more lenient if you're, above the speed limit 5, 6, 7, 8. But anything above like 8, 9, 10, you'll be getting a speeding ticket. A friend of mine gave me a ride one time. We're coming from Calgary back to Edmonton. And I don't know, I was not sleeping. I was on my phone, but he was running so fast and we got pulled over. So the cop was like, do you know you were going 154 and this is kilometers per hour? And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. The guy's like, sorry is not gonna cut it because I don't want to have to scrape your brains off the road. So he gave my friend there and then a $350 ticket. And the thing too with speeding is that you want to be really careful, because the worse your offense is, the more demerit points you get. Demerit points is something else. Just make sure you're not losing your points still. So he got a ticket, 350, just one trip. So you want to be careful, and you obviously want to budget maybe at least 200 to 300 speeding fines, parking fines, speeding fines a year. But make sure you're compliant and you're not spending that money. So yeah, I think these are the reasons why I chose not to get a car in Canada. Number one, I didn't need it. Number two, the car expenses were just too much. So if you're thinking about getting a car in Canada, really ask yourself, do you need it or can you live without it? If you cannot live without it, be prepared to budget at least $7,000 to $12,000 in addition to your car purchase, which you would have to use every year to maintain the lifestyle of owning a car. Guys, I hope this video has been useful to you. If it has been, click the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks a lot for checking in, and remember, stay safe. Bye.